Hello and welcome to another episode of IIPC Talks. I'm your host Abhinav, a member of the student body of IIP Cell KGEC. On this episode, we have Anirbanda, who is a 2010 pass out of KGEC. Anirbanda is currently an assistant professor at the University of Essex. And on this very episode, we have him over to share his journey and his advice, like always, with the fellow students of KGEC. So, Anirbanda, very warm welcome to this
Thank you
episode.
very much.
So we'll right away move to the first part of our talk, which is, could you walk us through your journey of being an electronics and communications student at KGC, your current role as the assistant professor at the University of Essex?
Yes, so I joined KGEC in the year 2006 as a ECE student, first year ECE student, and then I finished it in 2010, and then I joined for a brief moment of time. I joined Tata Consultancy Services. But I left there within 1 year, and then I pursued MTech from Shibpur. So at the time it was based on Shibpur, now it's IIEST Shibpur. So I did my MTech in mechatronics and robotics, and then I joined the PhD program at IIT Kanpur under Professor Ashish Datta. And then I finished my PhD in 2018, and I went to UK, especially in Northern Ireland, and joined Ulster University as a postdoc. But I didn't continue my postdoc much longer. I left it after maybe 7 or 8 months, and then I got into University of Essex as an assistant professor there, and I'm currently at the Computer Science and Electronic Engineering department as a lecturer in robotics and artificial intelligence. So I'm continuing my work there. So my research is in brain-computer interfaces, especially the application area is in rehabilitation robotics. So I build exoskeletons and control them through brain signals for rehabilitating the stroke patients. So that's my current area of research here.
Yeah, pretty interesting. So we'll go back to the days when you were at KGC, and when did you discover this, inclination towards academia and research in general? And could you also walk us through your decision making behind, going for a master's, then going for a PhD postdoc? Did they happen sequentially, or were there anything else that
Yeah.
was?
Yeah, I would say it was a very interesting conjecture as far as my academic life was concerned, because clearly when I joined KGC, I didn't have any clear vision or clear thought that what I'm going to do in future. So there are a lot of ambiguity around me. So like as a normal student, my vision was that maybe okay, I joined here, so maybe in 4 years I will finish my degree, and if I'm lucky I can get a job at some IT company, and that's it, that's life. So that was the basic idea around that time. And at that time those jobs were, right now people are more open to many opportunities, but at that time mostly people don't think of other things. Like even if somebody pursue GATE, it was considered that okay, that guy didn't get a job in campusing, so he is pursuing GATE. Okay, so that was the general idea about that. So in my hostel also I have seen that the people who got so at that time it was the campusing was in third year. So from our batch, I think it changed to fourth year. Okay, so I have seen that so all our seniors who got job in third year, they are chilling out, and they are tension free, and people who haven't got jobs, they are trying their best to get into MTech or get something like that. So that was the idea when I was in first year or second year. But then something happened. It's like, this period between 2007 to 2010 is a very important period even in the history of KGEC, as we see it, because before this period and after this period, we have seen a rapid change in terms of technical activities or the generation of different clubs like the robotics clubs, science clubs, and etc. So all these things were spawned out of this period. You can consider this period as a renaissance period in the history of KGEC. And I was lucky that I was at that time in KGEC when all these changes were happening. Okay. So what I consider blessed is that I had a good company of my friends, and especially I had a very brilliant batch of my juniors. Okay, especially I remember the batch of 2009 pass out, mechanical engineering especially. There were I think 15 to 20 students who are very enthusiastic in pursuing different technical activities, mostly robotics. Okay, so there was a buzz around our KGEC community that we went to different tech fests, which happened around the different colleges in Kolkata and all. And we were thinking why we are not having this at our place. Like, we had a tech fest. It's not that we didn't have a tech fest, but it was very passive. Like, we didn't see different colleges coming into our campus. It's kind of a domestic environment of tech fest. So we thought that this should be changed. Okay, so this environment should be changed. And there were a few of my friends. I should mention their name because otherwise it will be incomplete. So I don't know whether you know about them or not. One was Kaushik Mukherjee. He is a assistant professor at IIT Delhi at the moment. Then I have my friend Shakko Dev Ganguly, and Shakko was right now he is working in Norway in a I think AI company, artificial intelligence company. He later graduated from Oxford. And then I have another my good friend Shayantan Ghosh. He is working as a manager in USA at the moment. So all these people, along with the juniors, especially in the mechanical engineering batch, and two of the prominent students were Amit Chatterjee and Mrinmoy Singh. And with all these people, things slowly started to roll on. Okay, so we started participating in different colleges, like even in IITs, people went there and started presenting there, like started participating in different robotics events. Okay, I myself tried to learn things because at that time there was nobody to teach us about robotics and all. So we took the initiative in ourselves. Whatever we share among each other, we organized the workshops, and we created an environment. And then later we built a science club, or you can say it's a kind of a tech club. Maybe it is obsolete right now, but at that time the name was InnoCrix. Okay, so the name was coined by Shakko Dev Ganguly, and it was consisting of three parts: innovation, creation, and execution. InnoCrix. And then even I remember that we approached our principal, who is also principal at that moment. So we approached him to have a little room for ourselves. So we didn't have any room for our club. So we approached, and to our surprise, we also got a small room, and maybe we didn't use it much, but there was a small existence of our club at that time. And then everything culminated in 2009 and 2010 with two events, I remember. One was solely organized by this batch of juniors in mechanical engineering, and it was called Prarambh. So that was the first time the TechFest was organized in a grand scale. And in the later year, in 2010, I remember that our tactics was organized in an even more larger scale, thanks to Shayantan for his ability to draw funding from different sources. And we even trained our juniors for building robots. And that was the first time when autonomous robotics became an event at that time. So previously, autonomous robotics was not very popular. Mostly it was manual robotics. So people have switches and they have long cords, wireless or wired devices. But at that time, we introduced these line follower robots and obstacle avoidance robots. So we created a problem statement merging all these different components. And previously, the participation was not much from our own institute, and mostly people from outside, they came and sometimes conquered. But then the things changed, and we from KGC we got the first prize. So I was the coordinator of that event, but one group, I remember, I think there's one group from second year, composed of the few students from second year and first year, who actually won that prize. And it was a remarkable achievement at that time. Like it fueled the enthusiasm and motivation around the whole KGC community. And I should specially mention the participation of our girls student. So I remember that Amit Chatterjee went there to the girls hostel, motivated them, and they participated in a huge number at that time. So it was a remarkable experience at that time, that everyone tried to do something in a great enthusiasm. Then but still my vision to pursue robotics as a career was not clear to me. Like at that time it was mostly like a hobby or something like that. Oh, okay, we did some fun things in the college and that's it. But I had no idea that it can be a career opportunity or something like that. So like others, I also joined TCS. But then because that some kind of a passion like thing was there inside me, so I thought, why not give it a try and maybe pursue an MTech or something like that, so that I can at least carry on my work, building robots and stuff like that. Now in India, there are very few institutes at that time which offered offer robotics as a MTech degree. And I didn't know that even in Shibpur, Besu Shibpur, we have a program on robotics. Okay. So my idea was that even if I give MTech, if I crack GATE, I may pursue MTech in electronics or something like that, because my base stream was electronics and communication. But luckily, I came to know this program in IIST Shibpur, that they have something called School of Mechatronics and Robotics. Okay. And then I thought, why not give this a try rather than going for a mainstream electronics? Why shouldn't I go for robotics? But there is a caveat in that thought process, because in India, people like to think in a very streamlined way. Like if you are doing BTech in electronics, you should be doing MTech in electronics. If you are going to some other stream, that means there is something wrong with you. Okay, so that's the mindset. This mindset is not there in abroad. Okay, in abroad, if you go into interdisciplinary subjects, people will appreciate you, that you have the courage to take different routes, you have the courage to explore things. But here things are different. But anyway, because I was preoccupied with this idea of pursuing robotics, I didn't think of all this uh, existing beliefs, and I joined the robotics program at BASIC. Now, to my utter surprise, after I joined the robotics program there, I saw somebody working in that lab whom we worshipped as a guru in robotics. I don't know. In that period between 2007 to 10, there was a guy who was very famous around the robotics community in West Bengal. His name was Ananda Shankar Kundu. Okay, and he was a pass out from IEM Kolkata, and he was a wizard kind of guy. He built different circuit boards, and he even set up a small robotics company, like selling kits and stuff. So at that time, these Amazon and other e-commerce sites were not there. It was there, but it was not so popular. So we used to go to these places to purchase equipments. Like we extensively go to Chandni market, and we went to that senior's home, Ananda. We call him Ananda's home, to purchase things. And we had this belief that he is a very knowledgeable person, and he's kind of a guy who we can worship. So I have seen him working in that lab, and it was a mesmerizing experience for me, because uh, then I thought, okay, my decision was right, because I got this guy from whom I can learn a lot. Now I pursued my MTech degree at BESU, and at that time, I also lucky to have some of my friends and juniors and seniors also, like Anandada, who created a very good environment of pursuing some additional projects other than the usual curriculum work. Okay, so it's not like you are doing some project because you have this examination or this oral examination or presentation. We did things because out of fun, or just trying to the craziness of building stuff, like see what we can do. Okay, uh, so we I remember at that time I worked with something called earthworm robot. Okay, so like we have this wheeled robot. Then we saw some videos, so we extensively explore YouTube videos, and we see robots from MIT, Harvard, and all. So we tried to pursue something in that direction. Uh, so I thought that why not make something, uh, some robot which travels like a earthworm. Okay, so some kind of peristaltic motion, expansion and contraction of little components which can propel it in a direction. So we started making PCBs ourselves, fabricating things in 3D, 3D printing, design things in SolidWorks and stuff like that. And many of my friends also came up with some advanced version of robots, like exoskeleton. So one of my friends built a full arm exoskeleton from the shoulder to the wrist. Okay, so at that time, those type of research were happening only, maybe not even in IITs. IITs also started those stuff building, yeah, until recently. But luckily, we had that environment. I remember Anandada making EMG sensors at that time, because EMG sensors were not very easily available, and he was making his own, and uh, he is adding more number of channels into that. That was his genius of making circuit boards and all. And he even built a simulator. Okay, so all these seniors, and I remember one of my seniors making a blimp, like it was kind of a quadcopter, but it was not a quadcopter, it's a blimp with propellers around, which can float above the sky and take some data about environments, do surveillance and all. So they are doing that, and we are quite inspired from their activity. We pursued our own. And then what I decided after MTech is that because in MTech you just being initiated to research, you haven't fully experienced it, and unless you do a PhD, your research career is basically incomplete. So all the opportunities will open after you, because one route is that you complete your MTech and go to some industry. Now, if I wanted to go to industry after MTech, it was as equivalent as going to the industry after BTech, because you can't get robotics in industry very easily in India. Okay, so you may fall back again to some IT company or stuff like that. So which the route which I have already forsaken. So there is no point in going back to that route. So what I decided that let's go into PhD degree, and luckily I got into IIT Kanpur, which is one of the no, I think it's perhaps the oldest robotics lab in India. It was founded in 1984, and at that time there was like he's still now Professor Ashish Datta, and he was a person who is very enthusiastic in practical robotics. Okay, because in IITs mostly you'll find people who are doing theoretical research. Okay, so because they are doing mathematics and formulating some equations of the kinematics and dynamics of the robot. Okay, and not many people are into building things. And he was only the person in IIT Kanpur who is building things. So I was very sure about whom to approach for my PhD supervision. And I went to Professor Datta and asked him to supervise me. And he was very gladly accepted me as his student. And then my initial idea of doing a PhD was in modular robotics. Okay, so modular robotics, it's a kind of a reconfigurable robot which can change shape and go into different terrains, which is not easily accessible. Uh, because of my perception of working with Artron robotics in the past. So I proposed that idea to my supervisor. But then he did a clever thing, that he motivated me to pursue something called brain-computer interface. Okay, because at that time, not many people know about this technology, that you can connect your brain to the computer and you can use your thought to control the robots. Okay, and at that time he had a funding and he had a collaboration with a foreign university in Northern Ireland, with Ulster University. And this collaboration project helped me a lot, because I got the opportunity to travel between India and UK, and I spent 3 months each year of my PhD at Ulster University. And there it was a big hub of brain computer interface, because they have all the different machines like EEG devices, electroencephalogram for scanning the brain, and they even have something called magnetoencephalography. Okay, which is a even bigger device with huge funding. It's a, I think, 50 crore device, which is very hard to find in India. In India, still, in very few places we have this machine. So it helped me a lot, because I got the opportunity to interact with all the different researchers who were one of the leading researchers. And there was a guide, there was a supervisor at Ulster University, Professor Girijesh Prasad, who was a world-renowned professor in the field of neurorehabilitation and brain-computer interface. Okay, and he supervised me in that area of signal processing, machine learning, and stuff like that. And with Professor Datta, I got the help of regarding how to build the exoskeletons, actual mechanical design, control systems, and all. So because right at the beginning, my idea was about hardware software co-design. So I was not happy with only hardware, like only electronics or only software. So I felt that both should be co-designed. And I have these two. I was very lucky to have these two professors who guided me. One in machine learning and signal processing, and another in the area of mechanical engineering and control systems and all. So it was a very good amalgamation, and ultimately we are actually produced something which is called a hybrid neurorehabilitation platform, or hybrid BCI platform, connecting the brain and muscle signals together. It was for the first time when BCI was controlled by both brain and muscle signals. So previously it was either brain signal or muscle signal, and we used it to control the exoskeleton robot for rehabilitating the stroke patients. So we conducted two clinical trials, one in India at Kanpur in a hospital called Regency Hospital, and another trial in Ulster University in the at the Altona Galvin Hospital in Northern Ireland. So these two studies actually build some basis of using hybrid BCI for rehabilitation. So later we published different papers in several journals and try to establish this technology. And while when I went to Ulster University later to carry out my postdoc research, I pursued further to replicate the same system in MEG, magnetoencephalography. So previously it was EEG based, and then it became EMG based, MEG based. And then after a brief stint there, luckily I got into University of Essex, and there I found that it was the biggest lab of BCI in the whole UK, and around 7 of the world's topmost researchers in this field was at that time in my department. So right now we are pursuing one project with UK government. It was kind of a around £1 million project, collaborating with different industries in UK and Greece. So we are carrying out that research at the moment, and we are hoping to produce something useful which can be used in an actual hospital. So right now it's in the lab environment, and we are trying to bring this technology from lab to the real hospital. So we are hoping for the best out of this project right now.
Yeah, awesome. Pretty interesting journey here. So we'll move on to the next part of the question, which is, what would be your advice to someone who is still in college, let's say a student in KGEC, and wants to pursue a career in research to get started?
Yes. So first of all, for pursuing research, I would say that do not come to research if you if you tried for something else, like you tried for job and you didn't get it, and that's why you came to research. So if that is the mindset, then I think it would be too dangerous to pursue research unless you have a right kind of passion and motivation, and especially the quest in your heart that I need to know something, or I need to figure out something, or I need to contribute something in the society which can actually make some difference and make the world a better place. Other than that, if you don't have right kind of motivation, it is very hard to pursue, because the research field is not something like you can get instant gratification. Okay, so you do something and you get some results. It's not going to happen readily. So you need to carry out one particular thing year after year, and things may succeed and may not succeed. Okay, and right now in the research domain, what is essential is that there is something, some concept called publish or perish. Okay, so if you can't produce, you will be perished. Okay, but then this urge to publish also hinders some quality research potential. Okay, so if you are very much focused on publishing, you will not be able to do good research. Okay, so this field, that's why it's very tricky. Okay, and you need to be very persistent, first of all, and patience. You have to have a good amount of patience. But I think it is very satisfying. Like whatever you are doing on a day-to-day basis, it will give you a very good amount of satisfaction that you are making small steps towards a bigger goal. And once you achieve that target, then it will give you a sense of meaning in your life. Okay, so we all want that maybe we can make our mark in our life. Okay, so this is one way which will give you some opportunity to make that mark. So you will not be lost in a huge pool of people just trying to compete for a particular post or promotion or something like that. You have something called intrinsic reward in yourself. Like I remember when I finished the clinical trial. So we are rehabilitating the stroke patients who are disabled by their upper limb activity. Okay. And after 3 months of giving therapy to them, it was a enormous amount of hard work went in every day, because patients came every day, and for 4 or 5 hours we rehabilitated them. And at the end of the therapy, we interviewed one of the patients, and they reported the daily living changes that they observed. Like previously they were not able to tie their shoelaces or button their shirts, and now they are doing, they are able to do that. And when they told us this thing, it was a mesmerizing experience for us. And I think then I realized all my hard work and persistence were rewarded uh, only by this comment, that I was not able to do that and now I can do that. So like even if you bring some change to even a single human being, you can get a very good amount of satisfaction in yourself. So gratifications will come, but you have to wait for that, and you should not rush to that, because that way you will degrade the quality of research. So upholding the quality of research, also focusing on your career, publishing papers, and then you will be rewarded by your own work.
Right. This gratification part is actually was very well put by you.
Mm.
So, one last question, which is something that we ask every guest that we have on every episode,
Mm.
which is if you had to give a piece of advice to your younger self, right, to the younger Anirban,
Yeah,
what would that be?
yeah, it's a very interesting question. Like I also thought, yeah, what advice can I give to my younger self? So first of all, what I think that it is very good to have a early vision in life. Okay, so if we have a very good vision right at the beginning, then we'll not waste time doing bits and pieces around, and like we can actually focus, and that will actually propel your career ahead. So yeah, it is always good to explore things, like try different things, and not not getting demotivated by the failure. So all these things are very good, but then you should explore different things and try to explore your own inner urge, I would say, because I wasted much of my time to find that inner urge, uh, because maybe I didn't explore it much. Because right now we have got a very good opportunity, like the internets are easily accessible and all. So, but I think that we should talk to people. Okay, uh, talk to different people, which I didn't do that. Uh, Things came to me. I was lucky, but maybe some of you may not be very lucky that you'll get people at your doorstep. Okay, so it's always good to reach out to people, talk to them who are in different, especially the program that you have organized, like talking to different alumni at KGC. So maybe these kind of opportunities will help people in exploring things. I think this is very important right at the early stage, and then channelize all the focus and attention towards that. And I think success will follow if we do that. So to the younger self, I would advise that you should explore things a little bit more than you did earlier.
All right. That was again a very good piece of advice. So, with that, we come to an end to this episode. Thank you, Anibanda, for taking your time out of your busy schedule to chat with us today.
Thank
It
you.
was indeed a pleasure hosting you.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, and I was very happy to talk to you, and all the memories I shared. I always say it to different people about these experiences, and this opportunity I really appreciate a lot.